Welcome to the Josh Scanlon Podcast. It is Tuesday, June 4th, 2019. We have a good question from Bill from Harrisburg, PA, that I'll share with you here in just a second. My first ever voice message on the Anchor.fm podcast. So, Bill, thanks for coming on board, my friend. If you find this helpful, send me your email. I'll send you a free copy of my book, The Tax Bomb in Your Retirement Account, because you are the first person who ever asked a question, and I'll post it on my podcast. I think it's cool. So what you'll find from Bill's question is he just asked about the Vanguard Personal Advisory Services. And ironically, I did a video on this yesterday, but I want to elaborate a little bit deeper on this as well, which I'll do so in this episode for sure, because I think there's a lot going on with the Vanguard Personal Advisory Services, of which I'm a fan. Don't get me wrong. We'll talk about the pros and cons of it for sure, though. So stay tuned. Listen to Bill's question. I appreciate y'all listening to the ads I'll put on here from Anchor. I think we have 2 from Anchor right now, and then 1 from Kristen and Chill. She's still running ads. So support the podcast sponsors, Anchor, of course, and then Kristen and Chill. So hang tight. We'll come back here in just a second. Thanks now. Hey, Josh Scanlon Podcast listeners. Want to share your opinions, give feedback, or tell me what you're thinking? Send me a voice message. Voice messages are an easy way for you to send me an audio that might end up on an episode. You know how I do these Q&As all the time? It's actually cool to get an email, but it's kind of even cooler to get the voice message as well. This is the latest feature from Anchor, the platform I use to make this podcast, which I cannot recommend highly enough. Anchor is awesome. The fact that they're adding this, it's free, my friends. It's free. There's no reason not to do this. It's just fantastic. So if you want to get your words out there, send me a voice message. All right, here are some things I'd love to hear from you. Questions you have for me. What you think of the episode that we just listened to. What you think of whatever topic. You tell me about your topic. One of the good ones is, who do you think I should interview? I think that's fantastic. And I see all your message. I listen to them. Look, man, I'm going to put them on there if they're compelling enough for the vast listening audience, which isn't all that vast as we sit here. But my YouTube audience is pretty vast, which is cool. And my Anchor audience, my podcast, as I build it, could be as more. So if you want to help the podcast and you have some questions for me, man, just send an audio, send a voicemail. All right. How do you do it? You send me a voice message right now from wherever you're listening. Just tap the link in my show notes. Can't wait to hear it, man. It's going to be awesome. Like I said, I definitely will play some on live too. It'll be pretty cool. So don't say, hey, this is Josh Scanlon from your, wherever. I mean, you could, if you don't, I'd prefer you didn't. Just say, hey, this is Santa Claus from North Pole or something like that. I mean, I'm not saying make it up, but you can say, hey, there's a Bob from Philadelphia. That'd be fine. But don't say, I live at 121 Main Street. No. We don't want that. So anyway, do that. That'd be cool. I hope you do it. Thanks now.
Hey, Josh. This is Bill from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Love the show. Wondering what you think of Vanguard Advisory Services. I know they're only charging 0.03%. I was just curious what your thoughts are for what you get for that. Thanks.
All right, you know how much I love Anchor.fm or the Anchor app, and that's just ANCHOR.fm. It's the easiest way to make a podcast, without question. Everything you need is here for free. You can use it right from your computer, which is what I'm doing on a Chromebook. You can use it from your phone. I haven't dived too deeply into the phone app yet, but I plan on doing it for sure. Tons of tools you can use to edit, just tons of stuff on that you can use that Anchor provides you. Again, did I say it's all for free? You can actually make money doing this as well. They have sponsorships. Well, this is a sponsorship right here. It's look, even if it's just awesome. I love it. Huge fan of Anchor.fm. They put your podcast on all the Google, Apple, iTunes, Spotify. You don't need to do anything. You just upload something, you talk, and you send it along. It's fantastic, and it's a good way to build your audience. Good way to get people to know your story. A huge fan. I cannot recommend Anchor enough. If it wasn't for Anchor, we don't have a podcast. So get on there, Anchor.fm, go to the Anchor app and start your own podcast today. I'm telling you, it's fantastic. All right, thanks. All right, Bill. So thanks for the voicemail again. Just a couple things of I used to work for Vanguard many years ago, my friends, many years ago, 98, 99, and 2000. So I have an affinity towards Vanguard. I have an affinity towards John Bogle. I find that guy, RIP, of course, last year, but I just love the guy. No other way around that. I have affinity towards Vanguard simply because it's owned by shareholders. I think it's fantastic. And so I want Vanguard to succeed for sure. I think Vanguard, when I was there, their HR was starting to go the way of some of these large company HRs, which is very liberal. And that kind of bothered me. It still does in this case to this day. They were just the whole thing. But it's corporate America, man. I mean, corporate America is like gravity, or it's like water. They'll go with the path of least resistance, and i.e., they'll follow the gravity. So, HR companies across the board, large corporations are like that. Stinks, but it is what it is. Vanguard is no different, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, the thing that matters most is how much your investments you keep. And so Vanguard was doing, index funds. They came to ETFs back in 2000, early parts of 2000. A wholesaler from Vanguard, and I used to do seminars on the Vanguard offerings for ETFs. I remember my own boss when I was at Legg Mason Smith Barney said, Vanguard, because Vanguard was the enemy because of low fees. And now once they started adding more and more ETFs, exchange traded funds, all of a sudden the advisors saw that there's gold in them Nar hills. They can offer Vanguard stuff for basic costs and throw their own insane 1 to 1.5% fee on there. And Bogle was against that for sure. He liked the index funds and ETFs, total stock market. He didn't like this, structure where you got, freaking North Carolina Furniture Company ETFs and things like that. He just wanted, basically basic market. But either way, water under the bridge now. So I'm a fan of Vanguard. I'm a fan of the personal advisory services. The biggest drawback, and I'll share with a couple drawbacks about Vanguard and any big company. And on my video, I shared this with you guys too, is that I had a call the other day or an email from a client who hired me. He and his wife, wonderful people. She's a retired Texas school teacher. He's retired, chemical engineer. I can't remember. But anyway, he from an oil firm or some kind of energy firm, and I forgot, nuclear. I think it's oil. Anyway, either way, in Texas, I forgot. Wonderful people, salt of the earth, perfect Americans, Texans for sure, through and through, and just great people. They had a smaller account with Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley guy, knew that there's $1.5 million at stake once the man retired from his oil company firm, and he was, so he was on him like white on rice. No other way around that. They come across me on YouTube, and we start chatting. I said, I don't think you should go with your Morgan Stanley guy. I think you should go with Vanguard. That's my recommendation, because all you really need is, asset allocation with some one-off advice. You don't need anything extraordinarily, you just don't need anything from an investment management perspective. So they had a good call with Vanguard last Friday, as a matter of fact. So Vanguard did what they're doing. They're going to do a risk tolerance. They're going to see what other assets they have, all the stuff, the typical financial planning stuff that even a guy at Morgan Stanley could do, for sure. The irony of it all was the guy at Morgan Stanley was essentially begging him to stay with him, because he says most advisors don't realize that if you're a school teacher in Texas, you get 2/3 of your pension benefit as Social Security payment. I was like, dude, you're just you're so ass backwards to be. If it weren't so painfully stupid, it'd be humorous. But the facts are, you don't understand the government pension offset and how that works, and you have it 100% backwards, which was painful to hear, because I can't imagine how many teachers thought he knew what he's talking about. But anyway, they're going to fire this guy and go to Vanguard. So Vanguard's doing what they're supposed to be doing. They gather information. They had a good conversation with them. They're going to go back to them on this coming Friday to get their assortment of investments. It's great. And so I think Vanguard charges 35 basis points or something like that. Incredibly cheap. It's going to be low-cost index funds. So basically all in, probably 40 to 45 basis points. That's less than 0.5%. Automatically rebalanced. They have a personal advisory service that they can call whenever they need. I think it's fantastic. I'm a big fan of that for sure. But the drawback, as I shared with you, I was going to say, is that the wife in the email told me that while they like Vanguard, they're very professional. They're not as easy to talk to as I was, and not as laid back. Very professional, and And you're going to get that in a big firm. I mean, no other way around that. And I shared with you a story yesterday that when I was at USAA, I used to get in trouble because my calls were too long. And the reason for that is I enjoy people. I like learning their stories. I like, hey, tell me where you're from, what's going on. More than just about, talk about the hockey game. I mean, and whatnot. And it's just this exciting to meet people, to talk to people, to get to know them, to really take them on as clients as opposed to just a number on a computer screen. And they didn't like that at USA. They didn't like it at Vanguard. You literally get judged for how long your calls go. And if your calls go too long, on average, you get dinged. And ding could be pretty significant. I mean, you could lose a pretty sizable bonus too. And that always just ticked me off because you're dealing in a personal relationship. And that's the drawback about Vanguard and all the big firms. You're dealing with in terms of the big firms on a call center perspective, Schwab, Vanguard, Fidelity, Edelman, you are dealing with personal relationships. This is what it's not an algorithm. It's not a robot. It's personal relationships. Now, what I like about Vanguard is they're using a robot, i.e. a robo-advisor, to help with their planning and certainly with their investment management. I'm very comfortable with that. But a robot will never take the place of a human being. It just won't in terms of getting to know you, your feelings, your thoughts, and the advice that will have to come from that personal relationship. And so Vanguard, they claim they have the best of both worlds. They claim that they have a personal relationship, and they claim that they're using the highest technology that's out there. And that's true to some degree, but it's not as true as a real live human being would be. And because of that, I think there's some serious deficiencies in the structure, especially when it comes to personal financial planning. And the irony is, I looked up right now, the Vanguard I'm looking at right now, the Personal Advisor Services brochure updated March 29th of 2019. And it's how many pages is this guy? It's 18 pages, and I typed in, and I did a find on this, and I typed in comprehensive. And lo and behold, Vanguard no longer says they're doing comprehensive financial planning. I thought that was incredible because last year they said comprehensive financial planning, and they don't say that anymore. So they must have taken that. I hope my video got them to do that. I don't know, but they absolutely are not doing the comprehensive financial planning. That is a fact. So to hold themselves out as they were, I think was misleading for sure. And one of my pet peeves of Vanguard and any of these big firms to say you're doing personal financial planning or comprehensive financial planning when you're absolutely not. It's the wrong answer because comprehensive financial planning is many things, but it's certainly more than just asset management. All right. Comprehensive financial planning is estate planning. So let's look at estates. I type in estates. No, nothing comes up from comprehensive financial planning. For the terminology, comprehensive financial planning, nothing. Estate planning, nothing. Tax planning, let's do tax planning, nothing. Isn't that interesting, huh? So now if you do tax, you get a lot of stuff that comes up. Actually, let me get out of this real quick. Hold on just a second. Let's go back. So if I type in, I just did it again. All right, hold on just a second. I'm trying to get it where I have the find. So last year I did a video on my concern about Vanguard office holding themselves as doing comprehensive financial planning when they certainly were not. And I used the search button. I typed in comprehensive, and you could see that they said they're doing comprehensive financial planning. They absolutely not. So now they got rid of that terminology. It's not in their personal advisory brochure, which I think is fantastic. So I type in estate. And again, just do Control F. It'll give you the search button. You type in estate, nothing for estate. Tax planning, nothing for tax planning. Roth conversions, nothing for Roth conversions. I mean, the list goes on and on. CPA, nothing for CPA. Tax advisor. And right here is, I find this to be incredibly interesting. My phone's ringing. You should consult with your tax advisor to discuss whether the minimum tax cost basis method is appropriate for you given your individual circumstances. All right, so they don't provide tax advice, nor does the ongoing advice services use of the mini tax cost, and I'm not getting what the min tax cost basis is, constitute tax advice. We strongly encourage you to consult with your tax advisor to discuss any tax concerns related to ongoing advice services. in of itself, that just simply says that, look, we're going to do the best we can under our authority, but as investment managers, but we aren't going to get deep in the weeds when it comes to tax advice. Roth, we type in the word Roth, and the only thing that comes up is they do offer tax-free Roth accounts. That's it. So let's type in the word conversions. All right. So again, this is nothing. So nothing. Now, if we type in the word Social Security, all right, they have one area. They're going to project your income from employment, Social Security, pension, income from investments as part of their financial planning stuff. But that's pretty cut. That's boilerplate stuff there. That's it. So you type in Social Security. There's only one terminal. There's only one finding for Social Security, which is included in their evaluation of whether or not your portfolio will sustain itself or not. But they don't talk about Social Security maximization. They don't talk about Roth conversions. They don't talk about tax minimization. None of that stuff. They just don't. So it's interesting to me. Tax. Let me type in tax minimize. Yeah, nothing. So at the end of the day, let me type in one other thing: asset location. Now, this is what I thought was interesting. All right, so they're not doing full-fledged financial planning. They're not. They're going to run a simple Monte Carlo analysis based on they use something called dynamic spending models. And I don't want to dive too deeply into that here today, but that's fine. I got no problem with dynamic spending models. But here's what I know in my knowledge. Knowing people who work at Vanguard, who I used to work with, who I respect immensely, and I know they do good work. I know they know what the hell they're doing. But knowing the inconsistency of these big investment firms as financial planners, they're investment management first, financial planner second. So the investments are always going to lead the way without question. So let's just type in. Let's type in taxes. Let's see how many times it shows up. 6. Let's type in investments. How many times it shows up? 40. All right. So investment shows up 155 times. Taxes show up 6. So actually tax shows up 91. All right, there you go. Still, anyway, at the end of the day, that just simply says, what is their focus on? Well, certainly focus on investing. And I got no problem. None at all. So let's type in asset location. They got 4 interesting things here, and I'm going to share them with you because I do think asset location is a big win that Vanguard offers their personal advisory services. So let's talk about this. For portfolios containing both taxable and tax advantage accounts, the financial plan will aim to optimize the tax efficiency of the portfolio by recommending or allocating investments strategically among taxable and tax advantage accounts. The objective of this asset location approach is to hold relatively tax efficient investments, such as broad market stock index funds, and taxable accounts while keeping relatively tax inefficient investments such as taxable bonds and tax advantage accounts. This tax efficient asset location methodology is demonstrated through the following tiered approach. First, the ongoing advised service will attempt to construct your portfolio to fulfill your fixed income allocation in tax advantage accounts, IRAs. Unless you already hold individual bond positions that align with our portfolio construction methodology but are held in the wrong asset location. If it becomes necessary to hold bonds in a taxable account, tax-exempt municipal bonds may be used. And see, this is we don't want that. Second, the ongoing advised services will recommend holding any active equity funds in your portfolio inside your tax advantage accounts. Again, those would be IRAs, to include Roth IRAs, by the way. And again, we don't want bonds in your Roth IRA. We'll modify our approach to tax-efficient investing based on continuing portfolio construction by Vanguard. So, look, I think that's good to the extent that it is, but they look at tax advantage accounts all-inclusive as IRAs and Roth, and you can't. You don't want to look at that. All right, so another drawback about Vanguard, and this I kind of chuckled at that. Their advisory business, VAI, Vanguard Advisory. I forgot what the AI stands for, but anyway, Vanguard Advisory Advisor Inc. Vanguard Advisors Inc. VAI. Nice. VAI is a Pennsylvania corporation that provides investment advisory services. So that's what they do. They provide investment advisory services to a wide variety of clients. So you see where we're going. They didn't say financial planning. They said investment advisory services. All right. As an SEC registered advisor, VAI has a fiduciary duty to act in his client's best interest and abide by the duties of care and loyalty. So they are fiduciaries, which I like. VAI was incorporated and has been in business since 1995. It is 100% owned by Goliath Inc., a Delaware corporation, which Goliath Inc. is 100% owned by the Vanguard Group. It's weird. As such, VAI is an indirect, wholly owned subsidiary of Vanguard, the sponsor and manager of the family of mutual funds, blah, blah, blah. All right. The Vanguard Group of investment companies, Vanguard funds, which VAI typically recommends as investments. All right. So basically, there's, I don't know. I mean, so you got VAI owned by Goliath, which is ultimately owned by the Vanguard Group itself. So there's a level of just a couple of a Chinese wall there. And I don't get how all this works. I said every time I see that, I just always get a little bit bothered because, like, why can't Vanguard mutual funds own the thing? I don't know. I just kind of chuckled at that. All right. So at the end of the day, we found they don't do much in terms of tax planning. They'll do a little asset location, but they're going to throw. I'm telling you, I've been here. I know I've had clients in here. They're going to throw everything into tax advantage accounts, including Roth IRAs. So your bonds will be in Roth and your bonds will be in IRAs. Your taxable accounts will consist of low cost mutual funds, low turnover mutual funds, index funds, which is great. But if you already have bonds, they're going to recommend municipal bonds as opposed. And that's not the way to go, man. There's good stuff there, but it's not good enough, if that makes sense. We don't want municipal bonds. We don't want bonds in your Roth IRA. And what's going to happen is I had a client back last year, actually. They wanted to change out their Roth to 100% equities. All right. 100% stocks. Like I told them, no bonds in your Roth. And Vanguard screamed bloody murder. And they said, look, we have you as a moderately aggressive portfolio investor. We need to keep it moderately aggressive, which meant Roth has 65% stocks, bonds, 35% bonds. Traditional has 65% stocks, 35% bonds, and I don't think they had a taxable account. But I said, no, we don't want that. We want your Roth to be 100% stocks, and we want your traditional to be the rest of a moderately aggressive account. And Vanguard simply could not do that. I mean, they ultimately did it, but it wasn't easy. Let's just put it that way. It was a pain. These people had like $200,000 too, so it wasn't like they only had a $50 account. So it easily could have got it situated correctly. It was just the whole thing was odd to me that they couldn't do that, especially when they said in their advisory agreement that they do look at asset location, and inherently they did not, or they don't in terms of your Roth has its own risk tolerance, your traditional IRA has its own risk tolerance, and your taxable accounts have their own risk tolerance as well. The fact they just said it, the big group, you, Mrs. Smith, are risk tolerance and moderately aggressive investor, and each of our accounts will represent the same thing. I thought that was weird. So I like Vanguard. I'm a fan of it. You should use it. I think Vanguard paying 35, whatever the fees are. I think it's 35 basis points for automatic investments and someone you can call for one-off questions and basic financial planning is wonderful. I absolutely do. I refer people to Vanguard all the time. They're not going to steer you wrong. You're not getting comprehensive financial planning. You're just not. So just keep that in mind. They're not going to do in-force illustration reviews of your life insurance. They're not going to talk about durable powers of attorney. They're just going to talk basic boilerplate financial planning, which is better than most investment advisors out there. I'm telling you right now. So Vanguard's still in the top 85% without question. But real financial planners will do all this stuff. And again, that doesn't mean they do tax preparation, but we're certainly going to pull up our sleeves and get in the dirt about tax planning, looking at 1040s, looking at pension maximizations, look at in-force illustrations, look at estate documents for sure, because that's what real financial planning does. So if you need real financial planning, Vanguard, I would suggest don't do that. Go to someone who does real financial planning, like your old buddy Josh, for a one-time fee. But look, you go anywhere. I don't care. But just go to real financial planning. I need someone to do a real financial plan. If you need asset allocation and asset rebalancing and things of that nature, and some group of people you can talk to on a one-off basis, I mean, a couple times a year, 3 times, however you do it with Vanguard, I got no qualm with that. I got no qualm whatsoever. Or you could use Vanguard to manage your money and have a once a year review with a personal financial planner outside of Vanguard. The Garrett Financial Planning Network, they charge hourly. Your buddy Josh charges hourly. Lots of people are doing this now. So you have Vanguard to manage your money, and you have a one financial planner relationship with somebody else. I got no qualm with that at all. So by and large, I'm a huge fan of Vanguard Personal Advisory Services. Just got to understand you aren't going to get the full scope of personal financial planning like a real financial planner will do. And that's not to say Vanguard is bad. It just means they cannot simply do that for all of their customers. They just can't. It'd be too labor intensive, and they just don't have the manpower for that or the liability. They don't want to take the liability. So hope this helps, Bill. Thanks for your question. And as always, my friends, if you like what you see here, listening to these sponsors is wonderful for sure. Give me a 5-star rating wherever you find these podcasts. Share it with other people. You can go to my Subscribe Star page at subscribestar.com/Josh Scanlon if you want to support me at $10 a month. And then, of course, the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Heritage Wealth Planning. We'll see you next time.